This is The Art of Plenty. I'm Amy McInnes. Let's get into it. Let's get into pressure cooking. Let's get into, more accurately, being in the pressure cooker. I'm sure you know by now that I am not talking about cooking. I'm talking about that place that happens, that experience that we experience when we start to step out and start creating change in our life. When we have moved out of thinking about wanting to do something and we actually start doing something. Now, it could be that you have jumped full on into your new training regime. It could be that you've started to modify your diet. It could be that you've started a new relationship or you've gone back to school. It could be that you're doing some online training. There's so many different situations that can launch you into the pressure cooker. And it's not necessarily your intended place that you're hoping to be. I talk a little bit about this in my first episode. Well, actually, I talk about this in my first episode when I talk about the chasm. So that chasm being that place when you're starting to move towards something different. So check it out, because this episode about being in the pressure cooker is very relevant and connected to that chasm of choice. When you're in the pressure cooker, you are implementing a new change in your life. And at first, there's kind of this little bit of a honeymoon season. You feel like excited and jazzed up because there you are doing the thing that you've been wanting to do. And you're kind of getting your stride, right? So there's this excitement that comes with it and this feeling of, I'm doing it. I'm creating the life that I want to live, and I'm crushing it. And then all of a sudden, it starts crushing you. And sometimes that feeling kind of just sneaks up on you. Maybe you're feeling a little bit tired, and it's just kind of wearing you down, and you think, okay, it's just, I'm just a little bit tired. I just feel a little bit of pressure. I feel a little bit tense, but you just kind of like brush it off and you think, it's okay. I'm just tired. It's not a big deal. And other times it sneaks up on you because you've kind of been on this high of, wow, I'm actually doing it. I'm doing something different. I'm doing what I wanted to do. So you don't even see it coming. And it just comes out of left field and kind of just knocks you completely off your feet. And what it is, what it means to be in the pressure cooker is, it means to be in a situation where you're feeling the pressure or the strain from the new circumstance that you have created. Here are a few indicators that you are in the pressure cooker. So I'm going to give you a bit of a list. And if you're like me and you take copious notes, you should be checking us out on YouTube, because the list is going to be showing up on the screen, which makes it much easier for taking notes. But here we go. Number 1, you might know that you're in the pressure cooker because you're irritable. Nobody around you can do anything right. Little things that don't typically bother you and that you can normally shake off really bother you. They kind of just bug you till no end. Another indicator that you might be in the pressure cooker is that you're having a hard time laughing. And that's not usually how you are as a person. Maybe you're a person who usually finds that there are many things that bring you joy and many things that make you laugh. But lately, not so much. Another indicator that you might be in a pressure cooker is that your energy levels are depleted. You may feel wore out. You may feel worn down. Now, here's the catch-22 of this one. If what you've done that has launched you into the pressure cooker is some type of new fitness regime, it can be really difficult to tell if your energy is depleted because you're working out more than you typically are used to, or you've started exercising more than what is the norm for you, or if the reason that your energy is depleted is because there's something else that's going on that's impacting your energy level, which is in itself the stress or the strain from doing something new. So it's kind of like a double whammy. Another indicator that you might be in the pressure cooker is that you cry all the time, or that you cry for no reason. You just cry. You don't even want to cry, and you cry. You find that you just feel more emotional. Another indicator that you could be in the pressure cooker is that you feel apathetic. You just were starting to gain momentum, and then your motivation is all dried up. You just don't even care. You don't even feel like doing things that you normally feel like doing. Perhaps you can't think clearly, or you lose your train of thought, or you feel like you're a hamster and you are just running on a hamster wheel. You're not going anywhere. You can't quite get a leg up, but you know you're spinning your wheels. Another indicator could be other physical signs like stomach aches, like headaches. You may find yourself wondering, is this even worth it? Why am I even trying to make this change in the first place? And this is why the why matters. So check out my episode on goal setting, because we dig right into why matters. Does any of this list of the indicators of the pressure cooker sound familiar to you? Have you experienced that? Now, before we go on, I just want to pause for a second and say to you that that list I read, if there are many of those things that you are experiencing, those can be symptoms of other things that are going on, not just being in a pressure cooker. So I would encourage you that if you haven't made a big change, if you haven't leapt into something that's creating this new situation of pressure for you, but you're experiencing those things and that's not the norm for you, or perhaps it has been the norm for you for a long time, but you've realized that through listening to this that, oh, that is how I am, but I'm not normally like that. That may be reason to go seek out some help to get a sense of what's going on for you. Okay, back to my question. Does this sound familiar to you? Maybe it sounds a lot like stress, because that's right. Being in the pressure cooker means that you are in stress, that you are in strain, that the pressure cooker is what happens when we introduce a new way of being into our life, and the adjustment phase is creating us stress, is creating us strain, and it's significant enough that it's starting to impact us, both emotionally, physically, mentally, spiritually. It's kind of like when you start a new workout regime and the workouts are leaving you so tired, and you find that if you sit down on the couch, even for 5 minutes at night, all of a sudden you're like drooling because you've fallen asleep. But in a couple of weeks, if you keep at it and you're eating well, you're not that tired anymore. So you have a way of dealing with the new regime. It just requires a bit of an adjustment phase. That's a situation when the pressure cooker situation kind of just takes care of itself. But it's not always like that. Sometimes we have to do something intentional in order to get the pressure cooker to shift in order for us to be able to move through it and be able to move beyond it. So we have to do something. We have to do something to make a change so that we don't get bogged down by the pressure cooker. So I'm going to give you a list of 4 things that you can do to intentionally shift that situation of stress and strain when you're in a pressure cooker situation. Now, the first one is to know your vulnerabilities. Now, I'm sure you have heard of the term hangry. You know, that situation when people do not have the food that they need and they end up getting angry. They call it hangry. There are many of us that have hunger as a vulnerability. There's other people who really, if they don't get enough sleep, they're not okay to be around. They are more vulnerable to stress, more vulnerable to strain when they're really tired. Now, these are unique things. So that means that you will have your own set of unique vulnerabilities, things that you need to take care of if you're going to be in a good headspace. When I was a little girl, my family used to call me a bear. They would say that I was grouchy, and they would often say it in the morning. And it wasn't because I necessarily needed more sleep. It was that I really wasn't a morning person. But I remember when I was younger, I remember thinking I would be completely fine. I wouldn't even be the littlest bit grouchy if you weren't around. And what I know now that I didn't necessarily know then, although my family perhaps did know, one of my vulnerabilities is alone time. I do so much better if I can just have alone time, which is funny considering I'm from a big family and I now have a big family. Even still, that is one of the things that keeps me sane is if I have alone time. So the reason why you want to know your vulnerabilities is so that you can protect yourself and shift yourself out of the pressure cooker by taking care of those things that make you feel more vulnerable. So making sure you're getting enough sleep, or making sure that you're eating right, or that you're eating enough food, or that you have alone time if you're like me, or that you're getting exercise, or that you're getting outside time, or that you have time to be creative. Whatever it is, it's unique to you. So it's about discovering what it is and then knowing those vulnerabilities and then taking care of those vulnerabilities is one of the ways that you can shift yourself and be intentional to shift the pressure cooker or the strain or stress in your life. Now, the next one that I want to talk about is the idea that we can't wish away the pressure cooker situation. Just because you don't want to be there anymore doesn't mean that you get to be out of it. When we implement these changes, when we start the ball rolling, when you go back to school, for example, you can't all of a sudden just wish that you weren't in a pressure situation. I mean, of course, you could make the choice to stop going to school, but when you've already gone through the process of deciding this is what you want and you have reasons for doing it, it's not as easy as that. It's just because you don't want to be in the pressure cooker doesn't mean that you don't want to have the situation that you're going after. So in the situation of shifting the pressure cooker by not wishing it away, there's this feeling that you just want it to go away, but you can't just wish it away because you don't know how those situations are shaping you. And when you're in the pressure cooker, you are building and growing personal resilience, which is amazing. The other reason why you just can't wish it away is because there are things that are happening in your life that are your life. And whether it's good, whether it's bad, whether it's ugly, whether it's a cliche, it's your life. And you can't wish away your life. This is why there's so many movies and there's so many myths about the fountain of youth or looking for eternal life, because this is something that people know is precious. We know life matters. So don't spend time wishing away the thing that everybody really wants to hold on to. Well, not everybody, but you know what I'm getting at. Don't wish that away. This is the life that you have. The third piece about wishing it away is when you wish something away, you're just distracting yourself. And distraction, it doesn't really serve you. It's distracting you from the thing that you actually need to focus on. Because when you devote your energy to wishing that something was different, you're not actually focusing on the thing that you maybe need to be focusing on. When I was going to university doing my undergrad, I often took public transportation to and from the school, and I would often have to walk at night because I was living in the Northern Hemisphere and it was winter, and by 5 o'clock it would often be nighttime already. So I would often have to walk by myself, and even when I didn't take public transportation, the distance to get to my car from the school, the buildings that where I was taking my classes, was pretty far. So I was often walking at night, and I was often walking alone at night. And I remember this one time I was reading this bulletin board, and they were offering a class. It was in collaboration with the student body or the student council and the city police. And it was a self-defense course. And I thought, okay, this will be good. Maybe I'll feel more comfortable when I'm walking to my vehicle. This is probably something that I should probably be doing. Hands down, the best $10 I ever spent in my life. I had the best 2 days at this course. I mean, what's not to love? The second day, there must have been like 30 or 40 of us women, and we took turns being attacked by this ginormous policeman that was wearing one of those huge suits that's like covered and not covered, but it's like one of those like puff suits. So when you hit them, you're not really hitting them. I mean, legitimately, I am not a big person. And the person that we were fighting off was probably 250 pounds and over 6 feet. Like, this is a massive man. So did he need the suit to protect him? I don't know. But that's not the point. The point is you get to fight as hard as you can, and they're trained to know what that attack would have on a perpetrator, I guess. Anyways, so fun. But the first day, before we got to the fighting day, the first day we spent time in the classroom, and there were a couple statements that were really impactful for me. One of the things that they said was, if you're walking to your vehicle, again, super easy for me to visualize this because I walk to my vehicle all the time, or to the bus stop or to the train stop, and there's somebody that's coming up behind you that you feel like could be following you, turn around and yell at them. Because if they're not following you, well, it's going to probably freak them out. They're probably going to cross the road or make some gesture or tell you that that's not what's happening. And at least you'll be in a situation where you'll know. And the other piece is oftentimes perpetrators won't necessarily attack a person that is confident or looks like they're going to put up a fight. Now, here's the part that's important. If you are distracting yourself, oh no, it's probably nothing. They're not really following me. Get out of your head. Just relax. Just keep going. And you're distracting yourself from what could be the present reality, you could find yourself in a situation that is much worse than what you're currently in, because you're not necessarily focusing on what it is that you should be focusing on, which is perhaps this person could be wanting to hurt me. Now, it even goes the next level. It even goes further than that. Because even in situations where women are being attacked, and this was probably the most impactful thing that they said that first day of training, they said that sometimes when women are being attacked, inside their brain, they're saying things to themselves like, this isn't happening, this can't be happening. And that mental exercise of saying that this isn't real, that this couldn't be happening, inhibits their ability to really fight. It's like their adrenaline doesn't kick in the same way that it would for somebody who thinks that they're fighting for their life. So one of the things that they were training us to do in that first day is to think of what you would do in the situation so that you don't pretend that it's not happening. And this is why it's connected to the pressure cooker for me. If you're in the pressure cooker and you're just wishing that you weren't there, and you're just distracting yourself from saying that it's not happening, you're not giving yourself an opportunity to really shift it or to really change it, because you're just imagining or wishing that it wasn't happening, rather than really addressing it and intentionally trying to shift it. So we've talked about 2 different things that you can do to intentionally shift the pressure cooker. We talked about knowing your vulnerabilities, and now we've talked about you can't just wish this away. The third one I want to talk about is riding the wave. Now, riding the wave is recognition that this season's going to end. It's going to beep and the pressure cooker's going to shut off and the steam's going to get released. At some point, this situation is going to change. The way that you're experiencing is going to change. Maybe you're going to change. But it's going to shift, because these things don't last forever. I think that's the one consistent thing in life, right? Is that things change. So sometimes the best strategy is to just ride it out, to let it be and enjoy the season that you're in. Enjoy knowing that you're creating the change that you want, that you're moving in that direction, and that the pressure is actually a sign that things are happening in your life, things that you've been waiting for to happen. After all, you chose this. And your reason for choosing it likely hasn't disappeared just because you were in the pressure cooker. So sometimes it's a matter of time, and as you go through the motions and you tend to your vulnerabilities, the wave gets softer and the pressure decreases. Meanwhile, you're developing some serious resilience skills. This is kind of where the magic happens. The pressure cooker is kind of where the magic happens, where the change happens, because you are responding to the pressures that you're having and you're creating change. You're putting pressure back onto the situation, and that in turn can shift things. Now, the fourth thing to do while in the pressure cooker. So we've got know your vulnerabilities, don't wish it away, ride the wave. The fourth one is to watch your thought life, because nothing compounds the pressure cooker like negative thinking. So you got to be like a hawk. You got to spot those thoughts that are worming their way in and eroding your positive emotions long before they start. Don't allow yourself to think negative things about the situation you're in or about what the outcome will be when you're in the pressure cooker. So take a deep breath. Not just when you're in the pressure cooker, but all the time. Just take a deep breath. Because you know what? You're doing things. And it isn't always easy. It isn't always easy to craft the life, to create the life that you were meant to live. But it is always worth it. I'm so honored that you would choose to invite me into your life and to listen to what I have to say. I'm so thankful that you would do that. And I hope that this message of the pressure cooker resonated with you tonight. And I hope if you're in it, I hope if you're in the thick of it, that if you're feeling the pressure, that there's been a little bit of a release by listening to this, that you can feel a little bit more of it come off of your shoulders. As always, this was created for you for educational purposes. It's not meant to be professional advice. If you need professional advice, please seek it out. Find someone in your home community that can speak directly into your personal life. We all need help sometimes, and sometimes the help that we need is professional. My name is Amy McInnes. This is The Art of Plenty.